In the car enthusiast circles, front-wheel drive is wrong-wheel drive. Worse acceleration, torque steer, understeer, no drifting. No drifting? F that shit, I'm leaving. Still, it's not all bad. Hey guys, I'm Stype, and these are the top 7 most impressive front-wheel drive cars ever made. Front wheel goes screech. Integra Type R. The DC2 Type R is considered by many to be the finest front-wheel drive car ever made. No caveats, no buts, just an all-out finest. And when I tell you how far the engineers went with it, you might think the same too. For starters, it's light, uncomfortably so. Gone were the aircon, the sound deadening, the sunroof, cruise control, vanity mirror, and the rear wiper. That wasn't enough, so the windshield was made 10% thinner, and the tiny 15-inch wheels were shaved for lightness too. And you thought that UFC fighters go through a lot to lose a few pounds. Also, the chassis braces were added to make it stiffer than my dead grandma.
Sorry about your grandma, but if I ever find out who killed her, I'll
Result? Handling like a not front-wheel drive at all. As for the engine, it was hand-assembled, 1.8 liter with cylinders lubed with molybdenum. When the VTEC kicks in, it spins to 8,700 RPM and makes 190 horses. Not as much as the top of the JDM crops, but with its precise handling, the Integra more than made up for it. This lack of power is why the Integra never won any JDM Kids Awards. But the grown-ups who know how special it is sure know how to put a price on it too. Yeah, it's too late for it now. Citroen Xantia Activa. In 1955, the world was introduced to this, the Citroen DS, which was the most advanced, most innovative car since, the invention of cars, probably. Its most standout feature, you ask? The hydro-pneumatic suspension, which keeps the car smooth and level no matter how rough the road is or how many wheels have fallen off. But that was just the first and a very crude version of that tech, especially compared to what the Xantia Activa got after 40 years of improvements. Now with a bunch of computers that read, measure, and adjust the suspension thousands of times per second, the body control was on a godlike level. Example? Here is how a regular car goes around corners. See how the inertia makes it lean out? Xantia Activa? Flat like Taylor Swift. But don't think for a moment that this was some super stiff sports car. No, the comfort was still a priority above all. It's just that, hey, the car corners flat, and the side effect of that is something incredible. Turns out that when all 4 wheels have an equal amount of grip, you can carry more speed through the corners, as demonstrated with the dreaded Moose test. And how much speed? More than the McLaren 675 LT or the 911 GT3 RS, the R-mother-f***ing-S. Also, the Citroen was on the regular thin tires. I should probably come out clean and say that the Activa also had 4-wheel steering. But still, an old, crummy little front-end drive Citroen can outhandle a GT3 RS? How? Honestly, if there was ever a sign that the Matrix was broken, this was it. Not that Andrew Tate guy. Cadillac Eldorado. When something is the best in class, people often say it's the Cadillac of that.
Airstream Deluxe A4, the Cadillac of paper.
That phrase roots back to the olden days when caddies were the opulent land yachts roaming the roads and commanding respect with their sheer size and class. But did you know that in 1967, the flashiest among them, the Eldorado, switched, surprise, surprise, to front-wheel drive? And honestly, I see nothing wrong with that. It's not like people were racing these things or entering them in Formula Drift competitions. Besides, because there was no transmission tunnel running down the middle, the Eldorado got even roomier. This was a 2-door coupe that can fit 6 people. 6! Then how big is what lies underneath that ginormous hood? Are you ready? A 7-liter V8 making 340 horsepower. Wow! Imagine the torque steer with such a bad boy, and now consider that that was the smallest engine you could get. Later on, there was a 7.7, and finally, an 8.2. This was the largest motor fitted in a road car until the 2nd-gen Viper showed up, and it was turned into front wheels. Power, 400 horses. And now comes the really impressive part. Just a few years later, this 8.2 V8 would be making a measly 190 HP. That's 23 Harry Potters per liter, or to illustrate it better, less than what this lawnmower makes.
How do they get so few horsepower from a V8 motor?
Blame the emission standards for that. Dodge Neon SRT4. On the other spectrum, far away from the big and brash Eldorado, is the Dodge Neon, a through and through certified shitbox. It was made to be as cheap and as basic as possible, and the same is true about its fast version too, the SRT4, except that it wasn't a shitbox at all, not after the guys from the Viper team had their way with it. Cheap and basic, yes, but not crap. It came out as a response to the whole Fast and Furious craze when all the kids wanted to tune and modify their cars while saying the words like yo 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 and dog and bruh. So someone at Dodge had a brilliant idea. Why not sell them such ready-made car? Big ass wing, big ass turbo, and big ass subwoofer. All you need to do is put your waifu stickers all over this and you're good to go.
Seriously?
Or you could leave it stock and still ruin your pants because this Neon was crazy fast. A boosted 2.4 liter 4-cylinder making 230 horsepower doesn't sound like much, but somehow, I honestly don't know how, it'll rip and tear a Nissan 350 EZ. Well, I do know how. Neon was much lighter, 400 pounds lighter. And that was mostly because it was so bare bones. I mean, why add a bunch of equipment when most of it will be ripped out or replaced with the aftermarkets anyways? Also, it didn't have a muffler either. Turbocharging alone silenced the engine noise just enough to pass the regulation levels, so they just left it like that. Yeah, I'm not sure that one was a stock one. Lancia Thema 8.32. In the mid-1980s, Lancia had a problem. Well, okay, it had many, but one was this. All those mid-level business managers, yeah, they weren't too fond of their executive sedan, and I think I know why. It's just not attractive at all with its boring-looking boxy design. Seriously, it's like they copied the car from this traffic sign. But instead of doing a facelift, Lancia had a uniquely Lancia kind of idea on how to make it more interesting. They simply gave it a Ferrari V8 engine. Okay, you got my attention now. Except that I can hardly tell that it's got one. Aside from this badge and an almost always hidden retractable wing, the first one in the industry by the way, there was nothing to indicate that this Thema was a super sedan many thought it was. Well, that's because it wasn't. A 4-cylinder turbo version was quicker, and as for the M5, man, that thing was like a whole other level faster. So maybe consider it more of a luxury Grand Tourer that just happens to have 4 doors and front-wheel drive. The 308 engine was given a cross-plane crank that changed the high-pitched Ferrari sound into a low rumble more suited for a sedan deluxe. Now, you'd think that the Rari power Lancia is something unique, but it isn't. The rally-bred Stratos had one too, and nor is it unique for being the only Ferrari-powered sedan. The Maserati Quattroporte spoiled that achievement too. It's the only Ferrari-powered car that sends its power through the front wheels, and that, I think, makes it cool enough to be on this list. Nismo GTR LM. Like I said, front-wheel drive is not the best wheel drive if you want to go fast, and I can't think of any race car that isn't based on a regular production car that chose to go with it. Well, any race car other than this seriously weird GTR LM.
What the hell is even that?
But I get it. If all you want to do is just iterate with the usual stuff like everyone else is doing, you can't expect a true breakthrough in speed that Nissan was aiming for. Makes sense, right? Besides, this isn't as stupid as it may look. Turns out doing a full 180 with the layout of your racer has many advantages too. Better aerodynamics profile, wider rear diffuser, better airflow through the car, better efficiency of the kinetic energy recovery system, and more. I don't have time to go over everything in detail, so please do check out the Engineering Explained video about the LM. It's truly fascinating. I will, however, talk about its hybrid system. It's not electric. Rather, it uses a separate flywheel which spins up to 19,000 RPM and adds up to 750 horses when engaged, for a total of 1250. The rest of the field were barely crossing 900. Now, I know what you want to know. How did the Longboy GTR do? Honestly, about as well as Titanic. All three broke down, and the one that did manage to crawl to the checkered flag was so off the winning pace that it was disqualified. Some rule about having to do at least 70% winning distance. Look, all the math checks out. The front-wheel drive GTR LM should work, but it should also spend more time in development to iron out all those issues. Too bad the Nissan accountants had this to say.
That's not worth it.
Now, before I continue, here are some of the honorable mentions. Let's see if you can guess them. Hit them up in the comments. Hit pause! And at number 1, Megane Trophy R. I don't know why it's so important for Renault to hold the fastest front-wheel drive record around the Nürburgring, but it seems that they're ready to do just about anything to hold on to it. And by anything, I mean putting so much exotic stuff and effort into a family hatchback until it cost $90,000. $90,000. Are you kidding me? That's the Cayman GT4 kind of money. Can it really be that good?
Let's find out.
Remember how the Integra was put on a diet? Compared to it, the Trophy is full-on anorexic. I'm not shitting on you. They actually managed to shave an entire Lizzo compared to the already hot Megane RS. All the glass surfaces were made thinner. The infotainment screen is smaller and lighter too. The rear seats are gone and the fronts are just some carbon buckets with thin foam stuck to them. Yeah, they may look soft and fluffy, but trust me, you'd feel more comfortable sitting on a dick. And then there are the ceramic brakes and carbon wheels. That's an incredibly expensive and rare combo, usually used in the hypercar world, so imagine seeing it on a French hatchback.
This is madness.
Basically, the Trophy R is as fast as a 300 horsepower front-wheel drive road legal car can be, and to hell with how much it would cost. See how fast it is? 7 minutes, 40 seconds, or in other words, faster than the Cayman GT4, faster than the Murcielago LP640, faster even than the 1,000 horsepower Veyron. Come to think of it, $90,000 might actually be cheap. And if you disagree, you're a bad snob. Shame on you. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Go watch something else from me now. I'm going to crack open a beer, and I'll see you in the next one.